All right, everybody, welcome back to the pod. It is Julia Wickstead right here and my partner, Vin. Say hi, Vin.
What's up, guys?
And today we have decided that we are going to do a mini deep dive on new construction communities. We actually had the opportunity last Friday to go out to KB Homes' Platinum community up in Communication Hills here in San Jose and take a look around. And we thought, why not bring this onto the pod and kind of discuss what the pros, cons are, some things to be aware of. Because it kind of seems like it's a mysterious process. Wouldn't you say, Vin, aside from purchasing like a resale home?
Yeah, it's definitely different. That's for sure. And people think that you buy new and that's it, but there's a lot more to it. So that's why we wanted to make this a podcast episode.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would think, as anybody else would, when you buy something new, the intention is that there's peace of mind with that, right? And that can be the case when it comes to certain things, but that can also not necessarily be true when it comes to other things, and also not be all encompassing. So just because it brings you peace of mind in one area of homeownership doesn't mean that that's kind of uniform across all the different issues that could arise during your ownership of a new build home.
Yep. Yep. Totally. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about the nitty-gritty, the good, bad, and the ugly about new construction homes.
All right, let's do
Yeah.
it. Well, here's a good question that I hear a lot of times when talking about new construction is, Vin, do I need an agent to buy a new construction home?
Technically, no, you don't. So you can go straight to the builder, and as you already know, but you can go straight to the builder and say, I want to buy a home and I don't have an agent, or I have an agent, but you know what? It's okay. And goes directly to the builder and buy. But obviously, there's pros and cons to everything. And we can definitely talk about it. I mean, what's your take? What's your take?
So I can speak a little bit from personal experience here. The first property that I purchased with my husband was a condo. It was a new build home. And we purchased directly from the builder. And we kind of were like, those first time home buyers who just didn't know what the new construction purchase process looked like, what we needed, what we didn't needed, what we should be aware of or otherwise. And so we found out later that we could have had an agent with us. And honestly, after reflecting back after the whole entire process, we both collectively agreed that we should have had an agent with us because from the minute that we went into contract, everything was very rushed. The builder doesn't necessarily represent your best interest, right? As a person or a family who's buying the property.
No,
That's what
really? Are you sure? They
Yeah.
don't want to just sell the product?
Of course, I mean, they don't wanna make sure that, yes, exactly. So, at the end of the day, the builder is representing their interest. They are there to make a profit, and so no shade there, I get it, it is a business. But that being said, as a buyer, you should do your due diligence and make sure that you have your own representation in the form of an agent to uphold your best interests. And what I mean about this specifically is understanding, what the timeline is going to be from your initial deposit to the close of escrow and having expectations set accordingly. Also understanding if you're pre-approved or pre-qualified through your lender, can you use that lender going forward? Do you have to use their in-house lender going forward? What are the benefits of each, right? The pros and cons of each. Because I know, for example, when we purchased our home, we were using a credit union and there was so much pressure put on us to utilize the builder's lender. So much
Wow.
pressure. Yeah, and so we really liked who we were going with, the type of mortgage program that was being offered at the time. It was unique and it worked for our situation and our long-term goals. But constantly throughout the process, we were pressured into, you should really be going with our lender. Our lender knows, the new build process and all of this. And while that may be true, it wasn't necessarily meaning that we had to go with them. And so it can be quite uncomfortable when you're a new buyer. You don't know the new build home process as far as purchasing, and you're feeling this pressure to make a decision about something that maybe you don't even necessarily need to be making a decision about, like for example needing to cut ties with the lender that you came in with and go with the builder's lender, for example.
Yeah, I didn't realize. So the first home that you bought, that that condo that you mentioned, was a new construction?
Yeah, it was a new construction. I mean, we did have to get, and this is very common for new construction, you do need to be kind of pre-qualified, right? Or pre-approved by their in-house lender to kind of get on a list to be able to buy. And that's what we did, but it was not under the guidance that we would have to go with them, right? And so
Yeah.
so at the time when we bought our condo back when everybody wanted a condo. So they had no shortage. So essentially they would kind of vet who would come in and give you the ability to say, yes, I want to buy based upon are you pre-approved or not, which kind of goes back to what we talk about anyways, right? Then if you want to be a serious buyer in this market in Silicon Valley, you need to be pre-approved.
Yeah.
And the builders have that standard just as much as, the resale sellers do, and it's for a good reason.
Yeah. Well, not buyers, but builders want to filter out serious and unserious people just like any other person, and the way they do that is make you qualify with their in-house lender just to make sure, hey, can this person even buy it? And then they'll let you most of the time shop around. Who was the builder? Tell us a little bit about like the process when you bought. Like, what was your experience? Was it a good experience, bad experience? And did you guys fight a lot picking out the design?
Well, I will say so overall the experience was worth it. I mean, it was the entry point for us into the market, and it served as a stepping stone to get into the single family home that we are in now. However, the process could have been more seamless. No, we'll scratch that one. The process could have been a lot smoother if we had had an agent to help navigate us during our escrow period. The builder was actually not a big known builder. It was a startup builder here in Silicon Valley. Their name was Silicon Sage. Um, yeah, and so they built the Alexis condo community in Santa Clara. They built a few other communities within Santa Clara. And so that might have been part of the reason why the process was as bumpy and sticky as it felt, because you're not talking about KB Homes. You're not talking about, all these other wide known builders, correct? So maybe that was just them figuring out what their process was. I don't believe that they are still around, although they could be. I did read some interesting information about them in the news, but like we said, that's probably for another podcast. So we went in, we bought, and it was nice because you get to, I mean, there is definitely a bit of a glamour about buying a new build home, right? You get to go and pick out your finishes and, if you want to paint a wall and, all this other stuff. And that is fun. I will say the process of going through that with a partner brings in varying opinions, right? And me and my husband both quickly realized we are not designers, or at that point in our life, we were not designers. And this was during the high peak of millennial gray. And so we loved gray, and it was so funny. We walked into a showroom with all these finishes, and that's what you do is you walk into the builder showroom. They show you your different options. They have their basic finishes that the home comes with, or you can upgrade, right? So it's your choice. You would pay more for the upgrades. But it was funny because by the time you walk out of there, at least by the time that we walked out of there, we had picked an extremely gray palette of many different grays. And at that point, it was a little overwhelming. And we ended up with a condo, hilariously enough, that had a very masculine gray color palette. Yeah. So it was interesting. I quickly realized I might be a little bit colorblind, and maybe he is too, once everything came to life in the condo itself when we walked in and it was done.
Well, it's literally colorblind, right? Because there's no color, it's just gray. So you're like,
That's gray. It's all, and then it's like it's all the shades of gray. This gray has more blue, but this gray pulls warmer, and this gray this, and that was a bit much. But it was fun, the idea of picking out our first home, and it was something we did together. So that was great.
well, if it makes you feel better, I'm partially colorblind, so that's all I see. So
My condo would have worked for you, Vin. I think you
I
would have
know,
liked the
right?
color. Yeah,
You should have just sold it to me.
I should have just sold it to you. Yeah.
I was gonna ask you when you were picking out the finishes, did you have to pick one by one for the items like the flooring, the countertops, or was there like a set package?
Yeah, so they had their base package that they that you get offered, right? And it's really basic. So it's like you can do floor, and maybe here's two different types of flooring color that you can go with, and same goes for the cabinets and whatnot. So I think on all we didn't end up paying for many upgrades, because at that point in time, this was our first home. So the biggest expense was just getting in the door.
How much how much did you do you remember how much the finishes were on top of your base price of the
So
home?
we ended up paying like $5,000 we got in upgrades. It wasn't
Oh,
much,
okay.
but it was a
Nothing
little
crazy.
something.
Nice.
It wasn't what I will say is that so when you buy a new build community, depending on the builder, I would not expect for the finishes to be high end, the ones that come with it.
Yeah.
That could change builder to builder, but from what I'm look from where I'm talking about is kind of like your entry level, right,
Mhm.
home, so
Yeah.
condo or even single family home, or as we saw then, right, the homes up in, Communication Hill, you're really getting basic finishes if you're not gonna go in and
Yeah.
upgrade it.
You're not getting, porcelanosa. You're probably getting American standard, right?
Correct, or cultured marble. That was my favorite one from when we went. I was, like, tapping on it, and I was like, "Ooh, I don't know how my kids would do with this." But so that's one thing to be mindful of, right? Is that understanding that, the finishes as they come, they'll be adequate. I'm not taking away from that, but they're not the most durable
Yeah.
in terms of materials, right? And you can always change that later,
Yeah.
but it's something to be mindful of and have a good, have your expectation set. So when you get in, you're not like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize, you know, this isn't like the stuff in my grandma's house that's lasted for 20 years and this isn't gonna last for 20 years."
Yeah. How long did you guys live there?
We lived there for 2 years.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, any regrets for buying new construction? Like, if you
No,
were to look back, like, should I have gone with a resale or, yeah, it was good that we went with the new construction, but any regrets?
that's a really good question. No regrets. So, yeah, no regrets because it worked out for us, right? I mean, maybe if the story had ended a little bit differently, but it worked out for us. I mean, at the time we were looking at purchasing a resale home, kind of going back and forth between like, well, maybe we can get into single family. If it needs work, maybe we'd consider it. But the more I reflect on that time, we did not have the capacity to do that. I mean, we definitely didn't have the time, right? I think that it's great to take on a project if you have the resources, but also you need the time. And if it had maybe been just me and my husband, that might have been doable. But we had my son who was smaller at the time too. So I think it worked out as it needed to. We got really fortunate in the timing, and when we sold it, it was really at the peak of when everybody wanted to live in a condo for low
Mhm.
maintenance living, and so it worked out. So I mean, I'm a big advocate of new build communities, for the purpose of getting into the market.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I
that's
agree. It's easy way to get in, without as much drama that might happen as on a resale. We can get into all that. I wanted to kind of go through some of this. We talked about it a little bit already, but for anyone who's listening, who's thinking about buying and considering new construction or resale, first off, why new construction? We talked a little bit about it already. It's a little bit easy to step into the market,
Mhm.
but what are some other factors on why people pick new construction? You also talked about how it's easier not just to get into the market because it's easy to get in because you don't have to do too much, right?
Yeah, it's basically you walk
Set
in
up.
and then you set up your home,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You don't have to worry about fixing the roof or the plumbing.
Exactly, exactly. And you have some general confidence that and peace of mind that the major systems within the house are not old or dilapidated, that they should be working and functioning fine for the next, however many years.
Yeah.
So that's always a pro. I know, Vin, we had talked a little bit offline and you were sharing that you were talking to some friends who had just recently
Mhm.
or within the past couple of years moved into a new build community. What was your conversation with them and as they reflected kind of on their experience?
Yeah, they just moved in this year, and one of the things that stuck out was the floor plans is more modern because
Mhm.
this is pretty throughout the board, but like new construction obviously has all the most modern or up to date floor plans and features. So, for
That's true.
example, a lot of resale homes these days, at least here in the Bay Area, you're looking at homes built from 1900s to maybe like the 50s, 60s, and 70s. That's like the majority. Obviously, there's other homes that are newer or like in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, but
Mhm.
a majority of the homes here are super old.
Yeah.
And what that comes with is smaller floor plans, smaller layouts, like lower ceiling heights.
Mhm.
The garage, even though they say on record it's a two-car garage, but it's more like a one and a half car because
1.5, that's a good one.
right, because it's, it during that time, in that age, that was sufficient, but that's the cool thing about going for modern or new construction, and that's what my friend and some of my other clients talked about too, is that the layouts and the features of the home is a little bit more modern, so
Mhm,
from that aspect, it's nice, and yeah, I think that's probably one of the main things. You touched up on it too, though, but it's like, you don't gotta do anything. It's there. I guess going from there to the downsides, though, is like I do see a lot of more new construction homes having, depending on the builder, but maybe smaller lots
for
because,
sure. I agree with
right?
you on that one.
A lot of builders, they're buying up the land and they're trying to cut it up as best as they can, but they're also trying to make as much money as they can. So they want to put as many homes on the land as possible. So that might
Absolutely.
eat up into the lot size. It's funny because we went to go check out homes in Communication Hills. They're building a crap load up there, right?
That's a whole 'nother way of living in the Bay Area,
Yeah, yeah,
communication hills. They are on an island of their own in the sky.
yeah,
I did dig the vibe up there, I will say
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Aside from, how the homes are constructed up there, because it is a bit different, right? Everything's very vertical.
yeah.
The community seemed to really enjoy there was a lot of people out walking, I mean, the views are fabulous of San Jose, and so I get the allure,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So that yeah, and I completely agree with you. I like it up there for not just them, but for a lot of new construction. The only way they can build out more is to build up, build
Yeah.
vertical. So that means that maybe the lot size isn't that big. Maybe you're closer to your neighbor on the sides, right? And the running joke I always think in my head when I'm thinking about these type of homes is like, even though maybe they are single family homes in some of these areas, I mean, there's lots of new construction, condos, townhomes, but the single family homes, a lot of times they're basically detached townhomes
Yeah,
because
that's a good way to put it.
it's just like a townhome because you're right next to your neighbor. Maybe you don't get a big lot. And like I said, it depends on the builder because there are other single family home builders where you get a decent sized lot. Like my friends who moved up to Elk Grove, they bought a single family home and they got a huge lot. So
Mhm.
which is kind of nice. But she also said something interesting on that too, is that what a lot of buyers don't realize when they move in to these homes with maybe a lot or a backyard, that the builders only care about what's inside the house or like the house itself. But the lot size, they don't come with a like a I guess built out backyard.
Right.
Usually it just comes dirt.
Yeah, I mean, well, when we were up at the Platinum Community at KB Homes and we were talking with them, they were saying, right, we walked into the model home. They actually had a cute little backyard. I was very surprised because, like we said, it's very minimal that you would
Yeah,
even have if you have a backyard, right?
yeah,
And they even said, I mean, you do get to it looked beautiful right then, the backyard the way I had it, but when you get it, it will just be dirt.
yeah,
So that's just kind of one thing to consider. Not that that's a huge con, right? That's kind of the easy thing, but just one other thing to take into consideration because you want to be mindful of your costs too. So if you feel you need to do something to the backyard and that's a make it or break it, you want to be aware of that cost
yeah. It's just
before going
just an
into
added cost that
yeah.
people don't really realize is, you're spending money on the house, you're spending money on the finishes, but because the builder doesn't do anything with the backyard, that's a separate cost that you got to consider as well.
Yeah.
But besides for that, I think the other good thing about new construction that people love is the warranties,
Mhm.
right? Because in California, you get like a 10-year builder warranty. So that's for any new construction, even like a single home that's built by just an
Like a custom
individual builder,
builder. Yeah.
right? Yeah, you get a 10-year warranty. But a lot of these builders who built these big old communities, they have that. They have like a 5-year or even a 2-year fit and finish type of warranty.
Mhm.
So that's one thing my friend mentioned as well, is that after she moved in, she started noticing like there's paint chips some in some areas, or like some corners are uneven, or like the housing for the recessed lighting is coming loose, right?
Like the
And
sockets
so
where the recesses are in.
yeah, yeah. So, a bunch of that little stuff, it comes with new constructions, which is like, yeah, you think in new construction everything's gonna be great and perfect, but at the same time, it might not be because it depends on the builder.
Right.
But because it's new, at least you get that warranty to take advantage of. So once those things do start happening, kind of the peace of mind is at least like, okay, if it happens within the warranty time frame, then it'll be taken care of. So
Mhm.
that's kind of nice.
Do you have what is or what are do you have 2 points that you would advise a client on if they said tomorrow they want to purchase new construction? Just 2 points that you would advise them to be aware of. What would be those 2 that you feel are the most valuable?
I think number one is get pre-approved.
Yeah.
But as I guess from the builder standpoint, I think a big thing is that the builder matters more than the home.
Mhm.
So I think that's one point, and the second point for me is, um, I think I was gonna say more like location. Location is super important, but that's real estate in general, location, location, location. But one thing that stands out to me is that not even just location of where the home at is in the city or the neighborhood, but where the home is in the community.
Oh,
Because
100%, absolutely, that's a good one.
yeah, yeah, right? Because,
Yeah.
I think new construction can be very cookie cutter like. So one thing is that maybe it's not so unique or it might not have character if that's what you're going for.
Mhm.
But the unique part about that, about new construction is where your home is placed in the lot. Is it on a corner where, you have less neighbors, which is maybe more desirable? Are
Yeah,
you on
that's a
a
really good point.
right? Or if you're on a lot that's one of the bigger lots, because when you're going through new construction, you kind of get to pick and choose what's available, what's coming up.
Yeah,
Instead of like resale, you wait for the home to come on the market and then you go and check it out. New construction, oh, you get to pick the house if you want it to be closer to the park or to
yeah,
the
that's
entrance of the community, right? So those are the two points is builders matter more than the house itself and location. Location, 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 not only in the city or neighborhood, but where it is in the community. So,
mhm.
yeah. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I actually think that that last point about the location in relation to the way the community is laid out is a really good point because that can really impact your resale value, right? In a
Yeah,
negative or positive way. And it's a unique opportunity to be able to pick where your house is going to be if you're going to go through a new purchase, right? On a new
yeah,
build construction home. I would say if I was going to offer 2 pieces of advice to anybody considering purchasing in a new build community, my first one would be take an agent with you. Like bring your agent. You absolutely need to have them from the minute you walk through that door. Because what's going to happen is if they are not with you on that initial visit, the builder is not going to work with them. They need
yeah,
to have it documented and recorded that you are their client.
yeah. It's a trap door, right?
Exactly. So be aware of that. My second piece of advice would be to get your own home inspection once everything is done. And I know
That's
this
a really good point.
yeah, and I know this is probably gonna be one of those things where people are like, "But wait, it's new. Why would I need an inspection on a new home? That doesn't make sense." Well, I will tell you why. You want to have a home inspection because it is common and it does happen where things are not installed properly. There are important missing materials within the house that you can't necessarily see as a consumer, right? But somebody who is trained and is an inspector and has that eye can identify it. And so that just really helps to ensure that the home you are taking possession of is built as it should be, with that second set of professional eyes. And the other reason that you want to have your home inspection done is because now you have a record. Right. So if there is ongoing issues with anything within the home, and you already have that documented from the time that you took possession of the home, that incentivizes the builder because you are warranted, right, to make this right and work with you to get it corrected. So it's a few $100s to get the home inspection done, but it's well worth the peace of mind knowing that you have documentation on the condition of your home, and if anything needs to be corrected by the builder, you now have this as proof as well. So that those would be my 2 pieces of advice.
That's great. And I think that all goes to the point of why you should have your own agent because definitely the builder's not going to recommend you to do that.
Absolutely not. Builder's gonna take you and say, "Your home is complete, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. Let's
Sign,
go
sign
walk through."
here.
right? Yeah.
sign here, and
Looks
we're
great, right?
done.
Here you go. Can't wait to move in. And so
Yeah. So
that's why you want to have the inspection as well.
yeah,
It's quality and control, right? I mean, unless you're building this house personally yourself, yeah, it's new, but you don't fully know if everything is as it should be. And this kind of helps, helps you understand that better if it's everything is as it should be with the having the home inspector come out.
totally, totally. Do you have any? Well, I guess I was gonna ask you if you had any real life stories, success stories, or horror stories, but you kind of went through your own experience with that, so I think that was very valuable. I guess I was gonna ask you if a buyer is looking to buy new construction,
Mhm.
what should they know before signing? But you kind of talked about it a little bit there too, having your own agent and doing
Yeah.
inspections. Even just considering new construction, what should buyers know even before maybe going to the sales office?
One thing, well, I will say for new construction and just to help set expectations for clients too, is that they're going to give you a general timeline. Okay. We anticipate construction will be completed on your home by this tentative date. It's not definitive. It's not a definitive date. It definitely wasn't a definitive date in my case. Escrow was pushed out several times. So you just need to understand that it's a moving timeline, and because they are constructing a new home, right, from the ground up, which involves sourcing materials, contractors, other vendors that need to come in, that is a big project to put on a timeline and be able to complete by a certain date. Not that it's not impossible, but it is very common for there to be delays during your escrow period. So if you are going to go the route of purchasing in a new build community, making sure that your living situation is flexible based upon what could come down the line as your home is being built and adjustments to the timeline as needed. That's what
Right.
I would say. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's probably one of the biggest things is that just because the builder tells you when it's going to be finished doesn't mean it's going to be finished by that time.
Yeah, it's a suggested by date,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
exactly.
Really?
But sometimes it's under their control and sometimes it's not under their control.
That's true too.
The part of it is like, how's the weather been the last few months and like can construction go, right? Maybe does the builder have any money? Because like we had these two condo buildings here in downtown, the Julian Street ones,
Very infamous.
and they couldn't even complete the second building because they didn't have enough people to move into the first building. So they didn't have enough money to complete the second phase, right? So yeah, I totally agree with you that timeline is a big thing and not all the time like they'll give you a suggested date and it's something that like, okay, yeah, it gives you a good preview, but it's also don't bank on it.
Mhm. I agree.
So yeah, I think that's a big thing. But just to kind of cap it off, I think what you said is on point. Before you go into the sales office, make sure you have your own agent. You know that timeline can be delayed. So like your living situation, if you're renting, don't end your lease right away.
Right, yeah. Give yourself some cushion, definitely give yourself some cushion, which
Yeah,
can be hard, right? If you're like that a person who really likes to schedule out,
yeah,
"Hey, XYZ is gonna happen on this date," but that's just not realistic for this process, just because of everything that's involved in building a house and everything
yeah,
like that. So yeah, just like you're saying, Vin, you wanna make sure if you're in a lease and you're like, "Yep, I'm out of here by this date," like you gotta really account for it. Um, there may be a delay. So,
right. Right. And a lot of this, like you were mentioning earlier with your builder, some builders are small time, some builders are national, some builders have good reputations and some don't.
right.
So I wanted to talk to you about this hot take, but my hot take is, I guess the hot take is who are the best builders and who are the worst builders?
Oh, man, you're gonna put that on my plate? I'm gonna put that back on your plate.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
You wanna take it? Imma let you take this one and run. Go ahead. I'll
Well,
chime in when I can.
I think there's the big names that most people, or maybe most people, but the big names that are out there are usually KB Homes, Taylor Morrison, Pulte, Lennar, Toll Brothers, right? And there's levels to this. And it's funny because, I put when we went to the KB homes over in Communication Hills, I put some of those homes on my stories on Instagram
You did?
and instantly I got comments from some
Interesting.
friends and they're like, KB Homes, screw them. I hate them.
I'm just laughing because it's like, there definitely are great stories and not so great stories. So it's interesting to hear the feedback.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's just like anything else, right? There's pros and cons to everything. And
for
I think,
sure.
for maybe the common person who maybe knows a little bit about new construction or has seen builders, maybe at the starting point, KB Homes is like, I don't want to say they're at the bottom of the level, but they're entry level. They're entry level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So with that,
That's fair.
because they're new and they're nationally recognized, not that the company's new, but they build new homes, they got a system in place, they
They
have
do.
a name out there, so they do have a reputation. So that's what I think people can rely on and be happy about when you're going for KB Homes, but at the same time, it's like a production line, you know?
Yes. They're
They
pumping these
build
homes out.
they're building it, they're pumping them out, pushing them out, and that's where maybe quality can sometimes lack, right? Or maybe the finishes, like you were mentioning, aren't like the high end finishes.
Mhm.
But for some people who are looking for a builder who's decent, like reliable, well known, and cost effective, and like not to worry so much, I think, yeah, KB Homes is a great starting point. And then you kind of move up to the ladder to, I think, maybe like Taylor Morrison. Taylor Morrison's pretty good. They're up there. And then for me, just based off anecdotal experience, it's KB Homes, Taylor Morrison, and then Pulte and Toll Brothers. Those are kind of like, yeah. And
Those
in
are more
between,
of
they're
like
like Shea Homes.
luxury end builders,
Yeah, exactly.
that
Because
lineup.
Pulte and Toll Brothers, they're always doing they got like luxurious floor plans. They kind of remind me of like Chappelle back in the day,
Yeah. Yeah.
but Lennar is kind of like in between those. Like it's too like not the top, but like it's in the middle. It's above KB, but I don't
Mhm.
know. Lennar sometimes, yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would agree with you. I do think Lennar, I mean, the few communities that I have been in, they remind me of KB Homes. But I think ironically, I think KB Homes has a little bit more variety as far as kind of the interior of their homes. Um,
Different floor plans.
yeah, different floor plans. I was thinking while we were discussing too, because I was like, now that I've been in like a new build, like I purchased a new build, I've gone to a resale home, but we tour all types of different homes, right? New builds, resale, just because of our profession. But I was kind of thinking to myself, like, after going through that process and now being in my home now, would I go back to a new build?
Would you?
And I'm sitting here thinking about it and I'm like, I don't think I would. This is
Ooh,
no
hot take.
judgment on anybody who, I mean,
Hot take.
there's people, hot take, there's people who are in, resell traditional single family homes that are from that aging time that we were talking about, right?
Yeah,
1900s and on, and they go and they buy a new build home. I think for me personally, and I do think this is going to be situation and preference specific, so no shade to anybody who does not feel the same way I do. I feel like the new build homes are a great way to get into the market, but what I like better about the resale route at this point in my home ownership cycle is that I feel like the resale homes have so much more character. We kind of talked about how the floor plans, everything can kind of start looking really cookie cutter, which is not bad. I mean, who doesn't love a clean staged home that's very modern, right? Minimalistic, bright in the interior. That's very attractable. But with the resale homes, what is nice is that you do get the opportunity to have actual, details that are not in every single house.
yeah,
Right. And I think you feel a little bit more freedom to customize it too, because it's not brand new built, right? Like, oh, this wall's like this is brand new. I shouldn't change it. I'm gonna leave it like this for a few years. You feel more at ease in being able to kind of make the home your own with custom updates if you wanted to. Definitely the lot size for sure. Also, as well, it'd be hard to go back to like a little minimal backyard and everything like that. But I appreciate character. The older I get, I like uniqueness and things that stand out and are not necessarily the norm. So I think for myself, I wouldn't at this point, who knows, maybe I'll get older and say, say I'll go into a new build home, but I think at this point I would definitely, if I was to buy another home tomorrow, it would not be in a new build community, it would be a resale home. However, if I was a entry level buyer, first time buyer, and I was looking for a creative way to get into the market, I would definitely utilize new build communities to do that.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the life cycle, what you mentioned, is probably a good example of it. Out there, maybe you're buying your first home, or even maybe you're moving up, but you're in a part of life where you don't want to worry too much. So you can deal with maybe not looking so unique or different or having a lot of character because, hey, it's new. I don't have to worry about fixing anything and I can just move in, start building equity and like live life. And then once you start getting a little bit more experience, maybe you need a little bit more space because a lot of the single family or not single family, but a lot of new construction can be compact
Mhm.
depending on which one you get. Then and maybe you're bored because you're like, I look just like all my neighbors, and you want to come home to something like cool that you did yourself or that has something that is something different that none of your neighbors might not have. So you get into that part of life. And then when you're old and wrinkly and not wanting to walk up any stairs or anything like that, then
Yeah.
maybe you go back to new construction because you're
Yeah,
like, I
yeah,
don't
where
want to
you
worry again.
exactly, where you don't wanna have yeah, you don't need, like, a huge outdoor space, or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think that for all the pros and all the cons that they are, new build communities, they are a great way to get into home ownership and leverage that towards growing your own financial net worth. So whether that means you're going to keep it as an investment later down the line, you're gonna live in it forever, or you're gonna use it as a stepping stone to get into your dream home. There is definitely an upside to utilizing new build communities to do that.
Yeah, totally. Well, I think this was a great episode. What'd you think?
Yeah, I definitely think it was. I hope it helped all of you guys kind of understand what the process is a little bit more. I mean, there's definitely more information that we both have, Vin and I, that if you guys have questions and want to talk more about it, you're able to reach us. Our contact information is always pinned at the bottom of every video. So you can hit us up and reach us right there. But with that, I think we are closing this out. Yes, Vin?
Yeah, thanks for hanging out with us, and
Bye.
we'll catch you guys next time.
Bye, guys.
See ya.